Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gideon. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. So the subject matter of today's video is going to be all about fragrance layering. Now, I've been layering my fragrances for quite some time. I do it for three main reasons. The first one is because I have quite a lot of fragrances and I think layering them is another way to get use out of your fragrances. The second one is I like to create my own kind of unique scent so I smell different from everybody else. Even though I might be wearing the same fragrance as other people, I kind of have layered it with something else, so it kind of gives it an interesting character. And the third one is I think sometimes it can help with performance for a fragrance which might be lacking in performance, maybe it doesn't last as long on you, so by layering it with something else, it kind of lifts it and gives it a bit more of a oomph. Now, I am not an expert when it comes to layering fragrances. I feel like I'm still learning as I go along. And I do have quite an experimental approach. I kind of experiment and try different scents, but I think I've gotten better over like the last year in particular when it comes to layering fragrances. There are a few combinations which I think work really well. I have some here. So yeah, we'll get into it. So when it comes to something which has kind of a woody character, a fragrance which kind of leans a bit more woody in the dry down or has woody notes, I like to brighten it up with maybe something that feels a bit citrusy or even sometimes has a bit of floral notes in them, because I think it just adds a bit of a juxtaposition. So this is a great one to talk about first and foremost. It's Acqua di Parma Colonia. Now this is Essenza. It is the two things I was just talking about. It's quite woody and citrusy. Now, what I like to layer this with, I've got a few options here. Is the first one is this, which is Louis Vuitton Turbulences. Now, this Turbulences from Louis Vuitton fragrance is all about tuberose, leather, jasmine, white florals, and musk. So it is quite spicy, but it has a floral note to it. Now, when I mix it with this, which is quite woody and citrusy, it just creates such a beautiful scent, which really works very, very well. And the good thing about them is they become friends as opposed to becoming enemies. And I think that's what you want to do when you layer your fragrances, is you want them to complement each other. You don't want them to fight against each other. There is probably one rule that I would say, and that is don't layer two very heavy fragrances together, because I think like that is asking for. Now, another combination which I accidentally layered, which I think for me is absolutely beautiful, is these two fragrances. And okay, so we've got Santal Royale from Guerlain and we've got Fahrenheit from Dior. Now I know Santal Royale on its own is quite a strong, potent fragrance, and I did say already don't layer two strong fragrances. However, I know this is a quite spicy, powerful oriental fragrance, very fragrant. There's leather, there's oud, there's rose, there's cinnamon, there's musk, I think there's patchouli, amber. There's a lot in this fragrance. And Dior Fahrenheit also has a lot going on. But what I love about layering the two is that this has some citrus notes at the top. So it's really nicely just balances out the kind of really heaviness of this fragrance. And this has a touch of sweetness. Maybe it's part due to the tonka, but it works really, really well. And again, they come together and they become friends, and there is no kind of like, you know, enemy situation going on where the two of them don't work. This was again experimental. I think I put this on first, which is the heavier fragrance, and then I randomly just grabbed this as I was running out to get to work. However, it did work, and it was a really, really nice layering combination. I think sometimes with layering, you just have to be bold and just try different combinations. The tip is, if you're not sure and you're new to layering fragrances, maybe try to pick fragrances which have notes in common. So this is Gucci Guilty Pour Absolute, and this is Terre d'Hermès. Now, they both have vetiver, patchouli, and woods in both of these fragrances. The Terre d'Hermès has a bit more of a fresh kind of green quality to it, and the Gucci Guilty has more of a leathery smokiness to it, but when they come together they create magic. I like wearing it. Also, it helps with the performance of Terre d'Hermès, which I find kind of lacks a little bit. The Gucci Guilty performs a bit better, And so I will layer it first. Well, I'll start by spraying some of the Gucci Guilty, and then I'll go over with the Terre de Hermes on my pulse points and a bit on my clothes as well. And they work really, really well. Fragrances. So this fragrance here in its travel atomizer is Love Don't Be Shy by Kilian, which is a very sweet fragrance, quite gourmand. I think there's some vanilla, caramel, orange blossom, and some musk. Very, very nice fragrance, but very, very sweet at the same time. So this is the kind of fragrance that you have to be in the mood to wear. And then an amazing fragrance which I like to layer over is this, which is Hermes, and it is Rhubarbe Éclat. And this is quite a crisp, fresh fragrance. It is all about rhubarb, but I believe there's also some berry notes in this, and there's some musk. But it is kind of this sour, crisp, really interesting fragrance, which is slightly sweet as well, but it has just the right amount of sweetness. It's very, very pleasant. The only thing with this is the performance isn't great. But when layered together with the Love Don't Be Shy, it creates magic. It's a really beautiful. My next layering combination might be my most controversial because they're two very loved fragrances within the fragrance community. We have Baccarat Rouge 540 and we have Chanel Sycamore. Now, I layer these fragrances, I do, and I love the smell of them together. I know that Baccarat Rouge is a very sweet fragrance. It has that lovely saffron, the ambergris, the jasmine, the cedar, and then you have the green freshness of this, the vetiver. I think there's aldehydes, there's some woody notes. This is also a very crisp, earthy, slightly sweet fragrance, which I love. It's my favorite from the Les Exclusives from Chanel. However, when I put them together, I feel like this balances out the sweetness of Baccarat Rouge, and I smell Baccarat Rouge quite a lot, and I like putting my own twist on fragrances, which is another reason why I like to layer them, and it kind of works. I know on paper it shouldn't, but it really does work. These two work. And yeah, let's talk about oils. Now, oils are a good base for layering fragrances because typically a lot of oils don't contain alcohol, so they warm up nicely on the skin and they create an amazing base. And what I love about oils is they are very, very long lasting. Now I have one from Opulent. This is from a brand called Opulent, which is quite a sweet, musky oud. And then I have this, which is a pure oud oil from Egypt, which was a gift from a friend. Now this, as you can see, I'm using it very sparingly because I'm running out. But this, for example, I can use any of these oils. So what I will do is I'll put a bit on my neck. Now a little bit does go a long way. And I'll put some on my pulse points and I'll actually rub. I can rub because it doesn't have any alcohol, so I'm not destroying or killing any of the notes. And with this, I can layer this, which is the Haramain Amber Oud Gold Edition, which is quite a fruity, vanilla musky fragrance with either of these, and it goes beautifully. I can layer the Ajmal Aroom, which is a fruity floral fragrance with that beautiful musk at the bottom. And I can also layer La Fumée Alexandrie, which is a smoky rose oud fragrance with either of these, and it complements it beautifully. So again, that's a great example. If you have oud oils, you can layer them with florals, you can layer them with musky fragrances, with sweet fragrances, and it does really help to give you an interesting and unique fragrance. Of course, if you want to play it safe with fragrance layering and it's something you're new to, pop into Jo Malone because all of their fragrances have been designed to be able to layer with each other. Of course, some of the fragrance combinations will layer better. For example, I'm definitely going to be picking up the newest release, Vetiver and Golden Vanilla. And while I was there, the lady said the sales associate, she said she layers it with cardamom and mimosa, and she let me smell, and it definitely was an amazing combination of the two fragrances. It worked really, really well. So that's another option. Go in the store, or you can even look online and see kind of what they would recommend. I know a lot of people like to also layer eccentric molecules, Molecule 01 and Molecule 02. They're interesting, but I don't know if it's for me. But people like those, so check out eccentric molecules. Also, Byredo have some amazing fragrances which layer really nicely because they're quite light, quite fresh. I like Gypsy Water, and I think that will be a really good fragrance to layer over something like Rose of No Man's Land, which is a bit more kind of sour but spicy, but a very interesting playful rose fragrance, with the Gypsy Water, which is a kind of fresh, airy, woody kind of scent. Yeah, I think just play around. When you go shopping, like sometimes I ask the sales assistants, what do you think would layer nicely with this? And they say, oh, I'll tell you what's a good combination. And they themselves give you ideas. So that's another way to go as well. Yeah, I hope that helps. Those are my tips. I just think just be playful and experiment with your collection, what you have. You might have some amazing fragrances which might layer amazing together. So don't be afraid to try. Thanks so much for watching this video today. I hope you're all well, and join me in my next one. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and of course like and comment as well. All the best. See you soon.